possibly can. And I do know that Mr. Stites is in the building. So just as soon as I get the signal from the clerk, we'll get started. We're good. Okay. Before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that some committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. When speaking, be sure to speak directly into a microphone so that all comments are heard and the record of the meeting is accurate. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of this meeting. The public may also indicate their intent to provide remote public comment by contacting the clerk's office by noon on the day of the meeting. The public will also have an opportunity to provide brief comments, either telephone or via Zoom, from the fifth floor conference room of the municipal office building. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance, again, from the Kansas Attorney General. If public comments are allowed on an agenda item, comments should be limited to the topic of that item. Disruptive comments and behavior are not permitted and may result in removal from the meeting. I will now call the meeting of the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee for Monday, May 25th, 2025 to order, and I would ask the clerk to please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Stites.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Burrows.
Here. Great, thank you. Committee, Madam Clerk, are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are no revisions.
Thank you. Committee, before us, we do have the June 24th, 2024 minutes. I would ask that you review those and I would entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the June 24th, 2024 minutes. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Stites. Kane.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye. Thank you, committee.
6-0, it carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Committee, that takes us to our first item of business this evening. That's item 4.1. It's a resolution authorizing the approval of an agreement for a school resource officer between the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and the Bonner Springs, Edwardsville, USD 204 for the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office. I will recognize, I don't see Sheriff Soptic. So is there somebody that, okay,
I'm Sherry Courtney with the Unified Government Legal Department.
you're going to have to speak up just a little bit. I have a fan behind me.
Sherry Courtney with the Unified Government Legal Department.
Okay, thank you. Please go right ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. This is a request for approval of a renewal of an agreement for the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office to provide a school resource officer at Bonner Springs, Edwardsville, USD 204 schools. The school district will pay the Unified Government $78,777.75 for this SRO. The Sheriff's Office has provided an SRO for USD 204 for several years. The only new change this year is that if the SRO works overtime at the request of the school district, the district will reimburse for the overtime as well. And this agreement has already been approved by USD 204.
Stites motion to approve. Second.
Gentlemen, before I accept that motion in a second, does any member of the committee have any questions or comments? Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, just a quick question. How come, what Bonner Springs Police Department, why aren't they supplying an officer? I'm just asking, instead of our sheriff deputy.
Because the elementary schools in the Bonner Springs School District are actually in 3 different cities, Springs, Edwardsville, and Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, was there any comments received from the public?
No comments were received.
Thank you. Anyone online from the public that wish to make a comment?
There are no hands raised online.
Thank you. Is there anyone appearing in person who would like to address this item? Please step forward. Let the record show no one stepped forward. Committee, we do have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Stites, Kane,
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. Committee, that takes us to item number 2, which is the approval of a resolution authorizing the application and acceptance of a grant from the Google Water Efficiency and Quality Project in an amount up to $6 million. There is no local match required. I do know that we have someone here from Public Works Department to make the presentation and give us an overview. Welcome.
Good evening, Sarah Schaefer, Public Works. We are requesting the approval of the application and the receipt, if we are awarded, of the Google opportunity. So it's the Google Water Efficiency and Quality Project Grant. We're looking at the location. I do believe I have a slide that shows the location. But our eligible watershed is Esplanade Watershed. What we're looking to have the Google grant support is the stormwater model. Identify 3 locations for stormwater management facilities. And we're going to request that the application funds the model and the construction of those 3 stormwater facilities. Those stormwater facilities would be capacity building stormwater facilities to mitigate any downstream effects that are getting into the CSO. This project that we're requesting grant application and support for does not meet consent decree. It's not allowed to meet consent decree, but it will significantly reduce our monetary impact when we do go into do projects for the consent decree.
Any questions? Is there a question I might have? I know you said it doesn't intended to meet the consent decree. $6 million could go a long way to help with this project. I would assume that, is there going to be engineering contracts issued? Are we going to spend a lot of this money on third party, or is it going to go directly to addressing the water concerns that we have in this community?
It will require consulting activities for the stormwater model and to identify the 3 locations. It will also need activities as it results to any type of land that's not ours that we may need. We always utilize land bank first, if at all at opportunities, but I cannot say that every dollar will go into the construction.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez?
Just a quick question, and this I might need to ask later, but would this be able to, like, what does the stormwater tax bring on residents that are hit with a stormwater tax?
I'm not following the question.
What I'm trying to say is, would we be able to, let's say we got we was able to receive the 6 million, would we be able to use that 6 million to replace what the residents are hit with stormwater tax?
So it would go into our financial model as supporting capital and programming costs, which would in turn affect the projected utility rate.
But it would drop their, like, basically, let's say, it was able to pay for everyone's stormwater tax for the year. Say, hey, Google actually covered it this year for you.
No, I wouldn't be able to say that that's what it would do.
Along the lines, though.
No, what it would do is we have identified capital needs within this area, an approximate value of $6 million. So instead of the stormwater rate coming before the commission with an identified storm capital line item that's built into the rate model, this would show up as a grant.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So this, when you say water quality, we're only talking about stormwater?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, this is the stormwater quality and capacity. So in CSOs, that stormwater is going into the pipes. So if we can build stormwater capacity upstream, capture the water, and minimize how much is being managed by the consent decree projects, it does significantly assist in the affordability of those projects.
Sarah, this goes back to my original question. If you've identified the work that needs to be done, then it's already been engineered and studied.
It has not.
How much money are we talking about is going to go into engineering contracting?
Typically, construction projects of this size are anywhere between 30 and 50% of the total cost. So if construction is 3 million, then usually engineering and acquisition and all of our inspections are also approximately 50/50.
This hasn't already, some of this work hasn't already been done due to the fact that we're under the consent decree.
The consent decree is the sewer portion of it. So yes, the consent decree portion has various components identified, which is under the sewer rate, and this is under the stormwater programming. So this is the stormwater component of the projects. And unfortunately, we do only have 2 watershed models at this time. We continue to get grants to cover those because they are some significant costs to that. We brought a grant to you for approval with the Army Corps of Engineers for the Muncie Bluffs and Armourdale one. So we try our best to get these items covered. Luckily, this also has construction availability to it, whereas the Army Corps grants do not.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk if any comments were received from the public.
No comments were received.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll ask the clerk if anybody online, public wishes to make a comment.
There are no hands raised online.
Thank you. Is there anyone appearing in person who would like to address this item? Let the record show nobody stepped forward. Thank you. Committee, I would now entertain a motion for.
Motion for approve.
We have a motion to accept the resolution of the Water Efficiency and Quality Project Grant and for up to $6 million, no local match. And we have a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Stites. Kane. Burrows. Vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. Committee, that takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is a action item also. This is approval of an ordinance condemning real property and/or real property rights for the location, laying out, construction, expansion, repair, maintenance, operation, and use of the Metropolitan Avenue and 55th Street intersection improvements in Kansas City, Kansas. I will recognize Public Works once again for the presentation.
Good evening, Chris Finger, City Traffic Engineer, Public Works. This project or this ordinance is really condemnation proceedings to keep us on track with KDOT's grant for this project and their schedule. So it's just our standard operating procedure to move along with them. We do have 2 properties that are listed in this when we put it up with you guys already in hand, and we're continuing to negotiate. But ultimately, as I say, this is for temporary easements and new right-of-way related to this construction project.
Committee, any questions? Commissioner Stites?
Stites District 7. So the 2, and I'm going to use the word holdouts, or the 2 that properties that we're going after. So negotiations have stalled or not able to reach, what's the?
So just due to timeline, we're needing to move forward in a parallel path with negotiations. We have 2 fully executed out of, I believe, 6 total properties that we're working on negotiating with in terms of acquiring those temporary easements or that new right of way.
And so I guess how were you able to get 2 out of the 6 and not 6 out of the 6?
Just the external party that's negotiating on our behalf, a third party, has just been negotiating and has been in contact with 2 enough that they were comfortable moving forward, whereas the other ones we're still working through details or like, and or we haven't made contact. I don't know all the details, but this is, like I said, this is a parallel path with us continuing negotiations or continuing to contact them to attempt to negotiate, just to stay on our schedule with KDOT we need to have this ordinance move forward so that we can go into condemnation proceeding.
If need be.
If
right?
need be.
And because I'm pretty aware of how, if we're not getting there, then this is a tool to say, look, if we can't get there, then we have the authority to go eminent domain.
Correct, yes.
And
Ultimately.
hopefully that will help, not to interrupt you, but hopefully that will nudge to get this resolved. Is that correct?
We don't look at it as trying to nudge them. We're still fully engaged with the parties that we're in contact with and doing our best to work it out through negotiations. If they were to stall out, moving forward with this at this time allows us to stay on our schedule that KDOT requires us to stay on to get this bid next year.
Yeah, and I guess nudge, right, I understand what you mean, what you're saying there, but just as long as we're able to not stall the momentum is what we're trying to avoid.
Correct.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Lopez?
Sir, what exactly are you are we widening the intersection or just redoing it? Or are we putting in a turning lane
Yes, we're widening to put in turn lanes. and redo the
on Metropolitan or on 55th?
On both.
Um,
If I remember right, it's on both, yeah. We're widening and putting in turn lanes on both and redoing the signal, if I remember right.
I think that's it for right now. I'm just, because that's where I was looking, but I didn't see the actual scope of work. Do you have that available?
I can get it to you. It was probably with the resolution when we brought that forward for resolution of survey,
That's right.
back at the beginning of the year.
It is, you're right. You're right. Yep, I do have it actually. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Does Madam Clerk, is any comments received from the public?
No comments were received.
Anyone online who wishes to make a comment?
There are no hands raised online.
Thank you. Is there anyone appearing in person who would like to address this item? Let the record show no one stepped forward. Committee, I would now entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the eminent domain ordinance for 55th and Metropolitan intersection improvements. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Stites. Kane. Burrows.
Aye.
Vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. That takes us to item number 4, our last item of action, and that's the Safe Streets presentation for all. That's the Vision Action Zero plan. We do have a number of people from Public Works who are going to present to us this evening. So it says Troy Shaw here, but I don't see Troy, so I'm anticipating you're going to tag team one another. So you have the floor.
Sarah Schaefer, Public Works. Alyssa Marcy was also on this agenda item. She is on vacation, so we have Chris here as well. This is an update, information only on the Safe Streets for All Vision Zero Action Plan status, as well as giving a look ahead. We will have items that we can present and really what we're kind of looking for in this next month. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Anthony Gallo with Kimley Horn to complete the presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Again, Anthony Gallo with Kimley Horn. I'm the consultant project manager working with Public Works and Planning and the partner cities on this Vision Zero action plan. So we've been providing updates on about a bi-monthly basis. I was last year in June. So we'll provide a quick update on where we are with public and stakeholder engagement and data analysis. And then we do want to introduce the vision and mission and goals of the plan that our steering committee made up of stakeholders around the county have drafted that we're going to be coming back to you with next month. So you all have seen this before, but we received a $1.2 million award between the federal government and KDOT. is a partnership between the UG and the partner cities of Bonner Springs, Edwardsville, and Lake Quivira. The big picture here is that we're using crash report data, both local and state level, to identify the biggest transportation safety issues in the county, as well as locations, and come up with targeted infrastructure projects to combat those issues and apply for future funding for construction. We're also looking to update internal policies and processes within the UG and partner cities. In terms of where we are in the planned schedule, we are through most of our data collection and public engagement efforts, at least on the getting input front. We intend to have some further efforts on the engagement front that are educational and information sharing out. We are moving into identifying and prioritizing the most critical safety improvement projects around the county. And we're also in the process of recommending several updates to internal policies and processes, such as how the capital and maintenance improvement plan is developed, guidance on traffic impact studies for private developments, all around the lens of incorporating safety. We have a steering committee that's met now 3 times so far. It's made up of UG staff across several departments, as well as several key county partners who are invested in safety. Our most recent meeting was about a month ago, where our team, we workshopped through a draft vision, mission, and goals that I'm going to share with you all in a few minutes. On the public and stakeholder engagement front, we did close our online comment map at the end of June. We received more than 500 comments, including replies to others. The most common themes were lack of sidewalks, crosswalks not being visible or clearly marked, obstructions to visibility, confusing traffic controls, drivers speeding, especially in residential and school zones, and lack of pedestrian access to transit stops. We have, this map's a little bit out of date as of a few weeks, but in terms of in-person engagement events, we've been continuing presentations to various community groups around the county. Most recently, we were at the Shepherd Center a few weeks ago. We've also been out at several community events, most recently the KCK School District Back to School and Health Fair, and we were at Tiblo Days in Bonner Springs this past weekend. For future engagement priorities, we're going to be targeting specifically the school districts and younger drivers, as they're a focus area that we've seen both from our public and stakeholder input and from our data analysis findings. So we are looking at planning an event this spring with the 4 high schools in KCKPS, also looking to incorporate the other school districts in the county. We're looking to have some targeted engagement around unfamiliar drivers and populations, thinking about the amount of non-native speakers in the county, as well as the tourism amenities and planned tourism amenities, particularly in the western portion of the county. And we also are looking at doing another transportation safety tour with our stakeholders. We did a bus and walking tour around the county in May. We're actually envisioning doing something where this fall, going to other parts of the metro area, looking to see lessons learned, where changing the streetscape has led to improvements in transportation safety, as well as spurring private investment. On the data analysis front, I think almost every slide I'm about to show you was presented back in June, so this is just a refresh. It was a lot of content to present all at once. So several slides going through crash statistics and hotspots. This slide here has total crashes, so approximately 40,000 crashes over the past 10 years, 10,000 involving a possible injury or worse, and just over 1,000 a year that are fatal or disabling injury crashes. So about 100 crashes per year that involve a fatality or a disabling injury. And then we've had more than 500 crashes over the past 10 years involving a person walking or riding a bike. So that translates to 50 a year, or about 1 a week. Once a week, a person is hit riding a bike or walking. These 7 issues listed here are the major focus areas that we're going to be organizing a lot of our strategies and recommendations around. So these are the biggest global trends, if you will, that we're seeing in the crash data, specifically for fatalities and serious injuries. So the percentages shown, those are the percentages of fatalities and serious injuries with this issue. So 42% of all of the fatalities and serious injuries in traffic crashes in Wyandotte County involve a vehicle departing the roadway. So these are the issues that we've been seeing in the data. They're also supported by what we've heard from the public and from our stakeholders. This slide shows those same 7 focus areas, but with comparisons to the statewide number. So again, using the example of roadway departure crashes, 42% of the fatalities and serious injuries in Wyandotte County involve a roadway departure. That's pretty consistent with the statewide percentage of 43%. You can see there are several other on here: intersection crashes, speeding crashes, vulnerable road users, so that's a person who's walking or biking, or unrestrained occupant, where the percentage in Wyandotte County is much higher than the state average. All right, several heat maps. So this one is this one's showing the fatalities and serious injury crashes that are on local streets only. So these are streets maintained by either the UG or the cities of Bonner Springs and Edwardsville. So this is taking out the interstates and any state routes, any of the K routes. As you can see, they're fairly concentrated along Parallel Parkway, State Avenue, and then particularly in the eastern half of the county, east of 635, downtown KCK, and in the Rosedale area. And then this map here, this is our high injury network. So what this is the output of a statistical analysis that we've done that takes into account the crash history. So the red, orange, and yellow segments, I know this is a little messy. These are the locations on the map, again, in red, orange, and yellow, that have been identified as having the most significant crash history. So this is based on the number of crashes, the severity of those crashes. So a crash involving a fatality or a serious injury is weighted more heavily. The rate of exposure, so the considering the number of cars on the road, and then crashes involving pedestrians and cyclists. So we're actually in the process of combining this with another statistical analysis of crash risk that's slightly different, but together those will inform the biggest safety priorities in the county from a location standpoint. So on the next slide, what I've essentially got is a listing of the top 10. If I go back, so we've got the locations in red on here. We've got essentially a top 10 segments, and then the next slide is intersections based on crash history. So the top 10 scoring segments in our data set, I shared this last time. State Avenue from 29th to 38th scores the highest, multiple fatalities and serious injuries, several crashes involving bicyclists and pedestrians, a very high total number of crashes, and that low volume of traffic. All of that together led this to being the top scoring location in our statistical analysis. And then moving on to the top scoring intersections in our data set. One thing I'll note here, again, we shared this last time, there are several intersections along 10th Street, so 10th and Central, 10th and Kansas, 10th and State, and then multiple intersections along State, 18th and State, 10th and State, that appear in our top 10 list. All right, so shifting gears to the draft vision and mission and goals as proposed and formulated by our steering committee, again, made up of staff from several UG departments and invested stakeholders from around the county. I want to take a step back real quick. We did a lot of research on peer communities doing transportation safety or Vision Zero plans around the country. Many of them are including a vision or mission statement and supporting goals. So with the vision being a big picture aspirational statement, clear direction, conveying a united effort and intending to convey public trust. It's intended to motivate and provide accountability. The mission would then be how we're going to achieve that vision and is more action oriented. So vision being an ultimate aim, mission being an approach for how to achieve that vision, and then goals would be specific targets or actions to drive progress. Essentially, the vision inspires the mission to formulate our goals. And I'll lay those out in the next slide. So this slide, again, shows our progress or our process. We've been workshopping through with our steering committee. So we had a workshop last month. We formulated the items, the vision, mission, and goals that are in the packet this month. We're in the process of getting review and feedback from our steering committee still. So what I'm sharing with you is draft. We are looking to have multiple rounds of input from stakeholders. But we will be coming back to you all next month with an action item to ask to approve the goals and vision and take those forward for adoption to the full commission in October. So the draft vision and mission statement, again, still in review and refinement from our steering committee. The vision to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries on roads in the county by 2050 through strategies that provide safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. And then the mission, expanding upon that, the unified government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and partner cities are committed to eliminating traffic-related deaths and serious injuries by adopting data-driven policies that prioritize human life and safety. Through strong community collaboration and equitable access to safe, reliable transportation systems, we will create a transportation environment that protects all users regardless of neighborhood, mode, or ability. And then the draft goals to align with that vision. So number one, improving safety for people walking, biking, and improving transit, reducing traffic deaths and serious injuries across the county, improving access to safe routes near schools, parks, and transit stops, increasing community awareness of traffic safety through public education, increasing partnership and collaboration across departments and organizations, including schools and law enforcement, to encourage safe driving behaviors, and designing roads that prioritize safety over speeds. So again, the vision, mission, and goals here, these are going through a second round of review from our steering committee. Based on some feedback we've received already, the language is likely to remain fairly similar to what you're seeing here. We would appreciate any feedback from this standing committee as well. And again, we will be coming back in September with an ask to this committee to approve and take to the full commission for adoption. So to wrap, again, as I just mentioned, next month we'll be back with that action item request. We will also have updates on several other fronts: public and stakeholder engagement, data analysis, policy and process review, and where we're going with countywide strategies and targeted safety project locations.
Sarah Schaefer, Public Works. So at this time, we want to make sure that it's understood that the vision and mission statement that's going to be coming to the final product coming through for adoption next month, and what we're looking for feedback on, if there's any, as we continue the draft, is the first step in the SS4A process in order for our community to be eligible for any additional federal highway dollars for construction projects. So there's multiple phases within our SS4A. Our first phase is to make sure that we have a vision and a mission and goals that then help align the data as well as the prioritized projects and the type of projects that we would get funding for. So we just want to make sure that that is clear in our process and protocols. It's just the first step of that adoption is the vision mission, and then the next steps will have additional adoptions and or revisions for or opportunities for feedback as it pertains to our capital programming, our asset management inventory, and how we move this into the next 20 to 50 years.
Committee, any questions? Commissioner Stites and then Commissioner Lopez.
Stites District 7. So I know it's probably not the right time to ask us, but when we're talking about traffic calming items, who and how did we go about implementing the speed humps that are on Fifth Street as you come down Fifth Street? And then, because if you go back to the map, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but it seemed like 10th Street was one, and I can only in my mind think that could attribute speed would contribute to that. And how would we look at if that is a location that we would want to maybe explore putting those speed humps in?
Sure. Chris Finger, City Traffic Engineer. I believe the process that they went through, or the process we have now anyways, is a petition process from the community to look at safety or speed, any sort of concerns of that nature. So it'd be community members putting together a petition. Well, first contacting my department or my division within Public Works Department We would talk them through it, figure out what the scope is, and then put together the requirements of that petition. They'd go out, sign it, get the signatures signed and return it. And then we would do an investigation internally if we were able to. Typically for residential and minor collectors, we can do that internally. If it's a major collector and arterial, such as 10th Street, we'll go out to a consultant either for the data collection and or the analysis itself. Typically, you can't do speed humps. We don't like to see speed humps or major slowdowns on our arterials because those arterials are meant to convey the traffic through the community in a timely manner. So there are things we're exploring there. We're working with Anthony on trying to figure out some new stuff right now because that is a struggle on our arterials and collectors to figure out how can we mitigate the speeds that are in excess and make the roads safer while continuing to allow people to get through our community in a timely and efficient manner. So we have some processes in place and we're working on others through this process.
I'll be interested to hear on what other traffic calming as you move forward with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, there are some spots that probably need speed bumps, especially over Hawes Drive down the hill. But also your presentation part where pedestrians being hit, things like that. A lot of that falls under just our weeds need to be mowed along the road. That's huge. I've been having a lot of complaints about, residents or constituents get a hold of me on Metropolitan. Pickup trucks don't really have a problem, it's a little higher, but cars are pulling out onto Metropolitan from 51st Street, 53rd. Can't see. The grass is taller than me. Saturday, I spent the whole day. I was just down. I weeded about 900 yards up and down Metropolitan, knocked it all down so everybody can see. I mean, because it was dangerous. I'm asking them, hey, when can this get mowed? I don't think there's been much mowing going on in my area at all over in the 6th district. There's some other spots that need to be mowed. And if I have to, I'll just strap up the weed eater and go hit that too. But I mean, I'm just tired of waiting when I think there was a real bad wreck not too long ago because somebody couldn't see. They pulled out on the Metropolitan and just couldn't see traffic and boom. And then when pedestrians walk down Metropolitan, they damn near have to be in the middle of the road because the weeds are so overgrown so bad. But yeah, I think that would solve a lot of problems right there. Just make sure everything's mowed. All right, thank you.
How do you mitigate or what are strategies for really high traffic areas? I noticed 39th, these are places in Southwest and 7th that they're just places near the Med Center and there's extreme traffic in certain parts of the day. So how do you, are there strategies to mitigate that when there's so much traffic?
Yeah, there's kind of a spectrum of very low cost to more high cost, the high cost being, let's redesign this intersection with additional turn lanes, like the example Chris gave earlier at Metropolitan 55th. Rebuild the traffic signal, clearing out areas to make it easier to see, things like that. There's also a lot of low cost things. I would say, except for the very new traffic signals in the county, most of them don't have the retroflective yellow backplate on them. Putting in, even things like countdown timers and cleaning up the striping and signage for drivers. We saw a lot of complaints from folks about intersection signage being confusing. You see that in a lot of older communities, in particular around the metro area. That's not necessarily unique to Wyandotte County, where this signage may be out of date, or you might only have one signal head when you might need multiple, things like that. So there's a spectrum of infrastructure improvements that you can put in to improve the safety at a traffic signal. Lighting's another great example. Like a lot of our intersections around the metro area are poorly lit at night. That contributes a lot to safety issues.
Thank you.
So Sarah Schaefer, Public Works, excellent comments and questions, and we definitely look forward to coming back to you when it comes to that phase. Once we do our investigations, then we'll come back with some of those types of applications. But I do want us to move our slides back a little bit, just to make sure that if there are any questions or comments or revisions that you can see that you want to discuss on here. Otherwise, we will make sure to bring this to you for action item next meeting, and we can get it in front of the full commission to get our first phase of SS4A complete.
What kind of financing are we talking about to make this happen? What kind of funding? And where's it coming from?
Future year?
Our capital investment is something that we're trying to make sure that we have access to federal highway funds for, and making sure that we meet the SS4A requirements to have access to funding is what this first phase is about. So we have to have a commission-approved vision, mission, and goals statement to be eligible for that. This would be future projects as identified that do not meet grant criteria would then be funded as we either identify or as the commission so approves within the budgetary processes.
Be mindful of the wording within a mission statement and or the vision statement. The federal government has certain requirements, certain buzzwords in reference to grants. So be mindful of that moving forward with your mission statement and your vision statement.
Sarah Schaefer, Public Works will do. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this was no action necessary. This was for information only. Thank you. Look forward to the full presentation as it comes forward to the full commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee, that's the last item I have on the agenda that required action or for information only. We do have one other request on the agenda this evening, and we have a public appearance by Mr. Kevin Drum. I believe you will notice your handwritten notes that were given to us late in the hour. So Mr. Drum, before you get started, please, committee, if you want to take this is pretty extensive reading. Mr. Drum, are you going to talk about all of this? Can you surmise this up in the 3 minutes that you've been allocated? It should be a green light there, buddy.
Sorry.
Okay.
Be very sorry, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Drum, I will recognize you and for you to present your comments. You will have 3 minutes to address the committee. And so I would ask that you be as succinct as possible. And I would have liked to have had these a day or two earlier so we could have reviewed them. So if there's questions, please know that some of us are probably asking them as we review them as you present. So please, name and street address, and then please get started.
Kevin Drum, 108 South 25th Street, also 115 South 25th Street, Kansas City, Kansas.
Please.
Okay. I'm here to introduce evidence. We have, years ago, I had addressed the board. Mr. Kane was on the board when and the transcripts are in here. Wood chip landfill never got addressed. We had a few return meetings on it, and a lot of action was taken on it by the government. They was basically leaving the KDHE to do it. It was too big of a matter. And anyways, it got forgot about by everybody. We got a terrible environmental problem going on up here. Trees falling off. It's just created a giant. In 24, I discovered six landfills in our area that hadn't been never notified. All the evidence of them's in here. The appraiser never it's never been there's from the U.S. Senator's office, he did a search. It's never been inputted in CITUS, or databases or county databases. And when the counties does their evaluations, they don't take that into consideration. Basically, what I'm saying is for safety, for many reasons, it should have been inside us information and known to the state and the county, and it hasn't been. And all the people that's bought houses around there, the banks hasn't known. Nobody's known. Financial institutions. Just think how you would feel if you found out that you
1 minute remaining.
6 landfills that's never been noticed. It's unethical to do that. I've provided the ethical from USAP. They're supposed to list all that in appraisals. It's supposed to be negatively impacted. We're living in a very devastated environmentally area. The water, the water table underground is polluted. It's forever chemicals. It's a it's a BP. Oh, but the green light ain't on. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, sir. I showed you there's a fly ash dump at 26th and at 26th and Ridge. It's got 230 to 400 million pounds of fly ash in there. There's National Guard armories. There's a Superfund site. All these are on the same water table, and all this stuff's being diluted and put right into the Kansas River still, and has been since 1958.
Your time has expired.
Mr. Drum, I know you have a few more things you'd like to express. I would entertain a motion from the committee to allow you 3 more minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Appreciate it.
Please continue.
I've give you, their position is that they use comparables. A lot of these comparables that they're using is either comparables that properties that sits around no landfills, or people that's bought houses and just didn't know. The banks didn't know. A lady behind me works at a bank, and she went and griped. She just bought a house back there. I know at least 15 people that's bought houses and they never knew. You can't find anybody around there that knows about these landfills. If you'll look at the on Exhibit 5, the general testing, where they tested those are forever chemicals that stays 1,000 years in the water stream, in the soil and in the water stream. All these landfills are on the same water table. They've tried to say that they didn't know. I got plenty of old evidence in here. Sorry. Plenty of old evidence in here that they did know. The city, you could see where there's letters from the city attorneys, the county. I don't know why the information ain't got passed down about these landfills. It should have been put in sight. KDHE has told me, well, if we knew, we should have put it in there. Exactly. But it never has been. All these people around here have been overpaying for values for their property for many years. And it's this man right here's ethical responsibility to make sure that those are put in appraisal reports and negatively impacted. It's never been done. I've showed him this year that it had to be, that since 2024, I found out, all these.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, all this has led me to, from the wood chip landfill, has led me to discover all these others. The problem is they won't do no due diligence work on their own to look this stuff up. I've had to do a lot of digging and went through too much work to put into it for this, but we're living in The wildlife's gone. The bark is falling off the trees. Where that wood chip landfill is, every month, the trees, you could trim it and you'd have 8, 10 foot tall trees and stuff growing within a month. It has messed we are environmentally messed up from this and we need help. Plus it needs to be put in databases, so the state knows, the county knows.
Your time has expired.
Yes. Sorry, sir.
Mr. Kane.
Yeah, and you was on there. I know. Trying to get that done for years. Nobody will come. I can show you easier than I can tell you. Thank you.
Mr. Drum, what is your end game? What do you need? Why bring this to us and present this to us this evening? What is it you're seeking?
I'm wanting to get all these landfills inputted like there should have been years ago in databases. So people that are buying property around here knows, so people that are paying taxes knows, so our houses are being properly valued and negatively impacted. I know that's not what you want to hear because everybody needs more money. The county's bankrupt, they say, but that's not our problem. Constitutionally, you're supposed to be fair.
Well, I'm not.
It's not fair.
I'm not an attorney. I just want to ensure that we have a matter of record as to what it is you're seeking and asking this committee to do.
I'm wanting that, and then I'm wanting to come back and I'm going to address some ethical stuff that they've done because there's nobody that oversees the ethics for the appraiser's office. I've talked to them from BOTA, and BOTA has told me, here's the people to talk to. I talk to them and they say, well, we train them. But I don't know why they say that. We don't have nothing to do with their ethical responsibilities. I can show you right here where ethically they're supposed to put that in reports.
That's a whole different subject matter.
Okay, sir.
Make sure that we have a matter of record, Mr. Drum.
Yes.
That as to what action you would like to see this committee take, I'm sure legal will get a response some way, shape or form back to you so that we'll know what steps to take.
Okay, and yeah, to make sure that these appraisers knows about all these landfills and it's put inside us information and that we're treated fairly as the commissioners would want us to, I think. I think you all want us to be appraised properly and our property's value and maybe even stop the pollution from being put in the can. It's a violation of the Clean Water Act. But I know I'll get into that in another appearance before you go. I appreciate you guys. Thank you
I'm
much.
sure a lot of that was before many of us on this committee. I
Oh,
am
yeah.
familiar with the wood chips. It did reach the state level, so I am familiar with the wood chip issue from years past. I have been by the site, so please know that many of us are aware of the issue. We will take whatever's necessary guidance from the administrator and legal, and I'm sure someone will be reaching out to you.
Appreciate your all's time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Drum.
Thank you.
Committee, I have nothing else to come before this committee this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Who to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Stites. Kane. Burrows.
Aye.
Vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, public. Appreciate everybody.
Clerk Brittany, do we have Dr. Hill online?
Commissioner Hill is online.
And we don't know about Commissioner Ramirez.
I do not see him present
Okay,
online.
but we have 4.
Mm-hmm.
We're good.
Yeah, we have a quorum
So are we ready to go?
whenever you are.
Dr. Hill's online.
He's online.
Okay, we're ready to go, so let's go ahead and get going. Thank you. Before I call our meeting to order, I want to announce that some committee members, staff, and public are attending remotely by Zoom as well as on site. We have participants joining by phone. We ask anybody joining by phone to mute your phone when you're not speaking to avoid background noise. And during the meeting, make sure you announce yourself by name and title when you speak so that the public observing knows who is speaking. Also be sure and speak directly into a microphone so that comments are heard and the record of the meeting is accurate. This is critical given the number of remote participants. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting. And those comments will be included in the minutes of the meeting. And of course, the public can indicate their interest to provide remote public comment by contacting our clerk's office by noon the day of the meeting, and also have opportunity to speak here in person during the meeting as the items come up. Please make sure you announce yourself by name and title when you speak. And if public comments are allowed on an agenda item, those comments should be listed to the topic of that item. Disruptive comments and behavior are not permitted and will result in removal from our meeting. And I want to call our meeting to order of our Standing Committee of Administration and Human Services for Monday, August 25, 2025, and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Ramirez, Kane, Bynum,
Here. We have July 22, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion for approval?
Davis, second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Vote is 4-0. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We have approved our minutes, and our first item on our committee agenda is a resolution for a budget amendment for our Department of Aging. Approval of a resolution approving a budget amendment to repay funds to Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services based on a recent audit. And I will recognize Ruth Jones, our Director of Area Agency on Aging, and Alan Howes, our Assistant County Administrator. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. Alan Howe, Assistant County Administrator. So the item before you, as you noted, is related to an audit by the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services. The copy of the audit was included as part of the agenda packet, and we have a short presentation to kind of walk through to give a little bit of context. We're joined here today we have folks from the Aging Department. We have Ruth Jones, who's the Director. We have Jackie Watts, who's a Fiscal Analyst, and we have Emma Fonseca with the department as well. And then from Finance, we have Leslie Stroshine, who's our Deputy CFO, and Lupe Valdivino, who's our Grants Manager, Grants Administrator. All of whom have been involved in this audit and the information requests and that we've gone through with that. I also want to recognize the Bishop with UG Legal has been very involved with this as well as Adam Brown with the UG Legislative Auditor's Office, who also has been very helpful in working through this. It's sort of fairly complicated and sort of fairly technical, but we'll kind of go through it here this evening. First, I want to say that we as an organization welcome audits. We welcome that outside look. We welcome the state or others coming in to look at it. And the state provides a significant amount of resources, and we cooperated fully with the audit and the information that they were requesting in this. According to Ruth, this was the first audit in KDAD's history that we had gone through in the however many years, 33 years So, there were things that came out of the audit, and one of those most significantly that we'll see here is the recruitment demand from KDADS in the amount of $429,000 to come out of aging fund balance. I'll set a little bit of context for this as well. The Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services started the audit at the end of 2024. They issued draft findings in January of 2025. We had concerns and some disagreements with those draft findings and sent back information back to KDADS saying why we took a different view on the things that they identified, specifically and most acutely around the recruitment amounts. We responded to those in a timely manner on several weeks later on February 4th, 2025. Met with KDADS on May and kind of had this back and forth of information with them. Ultimately, they issued their final report on August the 5th. And then that is why we're before you today to get this budget amendment for the recruitment of funds, as well as to go over the overall findings of the audit and what we can learn from them, as well as what we've done to correct the items within it. Say, Ms. Jones, anything you want to add as we get started here? Okay. And I guess the last part of sort of background on this is that this happened, and the findings that you'll see as we go through this were identified during a period when there was a significant amount of transition. So there was staff transition happening. The longtime financial analyst for Department of Aging had recently retired. We had a person that was hired into that role who was then subsequently moved out of that role into another role when we had other transition within the organization. So there was sort of a period of double movements on the financial analyst position. There was draft transition within the state and KDADS. And so there was sort of different information that was coming to us from the state at different points in time over this period. There was transition and staff transition in our own finance department. We did not have a grants administrator for quite a long time. And even in our legal department had this transition. So there's a lot of, it's not a lot of moving parts in this. There's also a period of financial system transition. So we were going through the movement from our previous ERP system to Workday. And I'll say that aging has one of, probably along with the health department, one of the most complex set of grants to manage, in that they are managing 3 grant years. They're managing a local grant year. They're managing a state grant year, which runs on a different calendar. They're managing a federal grant year, which runs on yet a third calendar. And so there's a lot to keep track of in those various funding streams. They've got state money, they've got local money, and they've got federal money. And then there was also happening in a period of very unusual funding activity, in that there was a large slug of federal money that came in through ARPA and the federal relief program that was treated differently, reported on differently, and handled differently. And so, this sort of confluence of all these things set up a period where, and you'll see in this audit where they said, hey, you could have done some of these things differently, and ultimately resulted in the recruitment as well as the other audit findings. So what were those? You can see here listed 1 through 7. We'll go through these in more detail as we go through here, but here's the overall list. So audit finding number 1, this was the late monthly financial report and cash request submissions. And part of this, and I'll let Aging speak to this too, was that they were submitting on a quarterly basis, which I think they thought was the appropriate period in which to do that. And then KDADS came back about 1.5 years or 2 years later and said, no, actually we need this monthly. So then it was going back and recreating those reports on a monthly basis. So there was a timeliness issue with the reporting that was partly, I think, our responsibility and partly KDAD's responsibility. Ruth, want to?
Ruth Jones, Aging Director, as well as the reporting that was supposed to be made monthly. We were also dealing, like Alan said, with a lot of the ARPA funding that had to be reported on separately. We also were in the COVID period where we had actually a lot of flexibilities offered through the feds as it regards cash requests. As well, the state had as many new staff and in transition, and so that there was reporting that was submitted timely, but because the staff at the state level were all new and those reports were not corrected, when the newer staff came on, more permanent, more experimented staff, then those reports were just late. And so we had a very new financial officer, fiscal officer to come on board. And I will say that the learning curve for the management of the grants is about 12 months. So with a new person trying to get acclimated and learning, and then with a new financial system, that's what caused a lot of the late reporting. Would you like me to go forward with the action plan? Okay. So our action plan to address that audit finding number one is all monthly financial reports and cash requests will be submitted timely. And I will say that we're on track. At this time, our fiscal officer has become acclimated and timely with that. We also have supporting documents that will show that the state has even received our latest reports and they are correct. And our current status is we have a procedure has been developed and approved to address grant program performance and financial reporting.
Okay, audit finding number two around subledger reconciliation. I'll turn to Stroshine or Pei if you all want to speak to the accounting side of that.
Lupi Valdivino, I'm a grants financial administrator. So with the new Workday system that was implemented in 2023, some of our accounting ledgers weren't matching up. So accounting has implemented a new schedule to conduct reconciliation to the central general ledger. So as of that, reconciliation performed in 2024 has been done, and it is accurate related to our audit finding reporting.
Similarly, audit finding number three, do you all want to speak to audit finding number three around the single audit?
Leslie Stroshine, Deputy CFO. As you guys are well aware, our audits have been behind for the last couple of years. So the single audit was not done in time for the last couple of years, and it is the audit that looks at all of our federal grant funds. We are back on track this year. It usually gets issued in September, and we are down to the last few items that are being submitted to the team this week. So we should be getting that issued on time this year. And we, again, some of the same things that Alan referred to earlier with the change in the ERP system and change in staff and stuff kind of, and change in auditor caused some of that delay initially. And then we just kind of had to take some time to catch up.
Audit finding number four, this relates to our OAA congregate meal sites, and the volunteers who worked at those sites were given a stipend, and this had been the longtime practice within aging and approved by KDADS for many, many years. And then in the course of the audit, they came back and said, well, actually, no, you can't do that. And so had to transition away from that stipend to having them now as part-time B employees. So again, upon identification of this through the audit, the change being made to come into compliance on that. Ms. Jones, anything you want to add on that?
Ruth Jones, Aging Director. I just will add that, as Alan said, the volunteer stipend allowance has been in place almost since the beginning of the OAA meal program. We've always paid a flat rate I will note that during the COVID years, we were guided by our federal partners to incentivize volunteers, workers around the nutrition programs to make sure that that food gets to the seniors who need them. A lot of the volunteers around the country are seniors, and during that COVID, it impacted volunteers. Many quit and were not, were afraid of catching the virus. And so a lot of the AAAs were challenged with volunteers. As I said, we were asked to incentivize, so probably for the first time in 40 years, we did raise that stipend from $10 to $20 a day for the volunteers to run those sites. And I'm not sure if the percentages were off, if they expected less or expected us to just pay mileage. But we don't think that was a whole lot to pay a volunteer for all the work that they do at those sites. And so, yeah, we were asked to not pay those flat rates. And so our fix was to make them actual site workers and part-time employees. And as employees, they could be paid out of any of the grants. It was just the OAA funds did not allow a flat rate for a volunteer because their work was more related to what a salary worker would do, because it was time sheets and just all of that. So it was more like a worker instead of a volunteer. And I think that's what caused the recoupment.
Right, audit finding number 5 relates to time and activity records. This is the finding that generated the recoupment demand. And there were records in the payroll system, and the work was done to serve seniors in the community. What the recoupment is kind of hung on is having physically sort of signed records on a weekly basis or daily, weekly basis of, this is what I did and here's the hours that I spent on it. And our kind of argument to that was these were staff that were dedicated to this program. We have the payroll records, we have the other records to support that. However, the state met us sort of, I guess, part of the way there. They removed about $250,000 off of the initial demand because we were able to prove that two people were 100% on this program. That's all they did. And so, but anyway, that was where the state landed on that. And just don't want to be clear that there was no impropriety, no misuse of funds. The recoupment request is related to documentation and sort of the paperwork and record keeping of this. It's not related to the service delivery that was provided to our seniors. Let's see, I'll turn it over to anybody. Ms. Valdivino.
Lupe Valdivino, Grants Financial Administrator. So time and effort activity sheets is what was lacking. It wasn't about the time allocation that's set in our workday to allocate between different grant funding, which aging has multiple grant funding. So we did have 2 employees that were strictly 100% in the AA. The nutrition, the part of the nutrition program that's related to the PSA 01. So we could only document the 2 employees. We have now put in place a time and effort log that all staff is doing. And then Jackie here collects them, reviews them, make sure for accuracy. And then we have a team site where she dumps them in, and then I review them quarterly, making sure that payroll reports the allocation, working with budget. We also work with budget to make sure the allocation is matching the time and effort, so we don't go back to where our allocation is incorrect. We also created a methodology of how we're doing our allocation, the number of sites and the number of seniors that we're serving to determine the allocation. So we provided that. That also helped us recoup some of those funds. So as we go into the new cycle for PSA, we will relook at what the allocation would be and what our methodology would be. If there's been an increase in the number of seniors they're serving, the different types of programs, and we can try to evaluate if we can increase and decrease in certain other grant funds, so we can cover all employees, so they're covering the 100% in the grant funding.
I've got a question just on the action plan. The activity sheets are re-implemented and completed daily by all staff. And do you mean all staff?
All staff at the aging, that is in aging, because all staff is funded. Majority of the staff is funded through grant funding. So we have to implement time and effort across the
I can
board.
only imagine the work level of this activity. Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, it's a uniform guidance. It's a regulation that we have to meet. So it is time consuming.
Okay, audit finding number 6, also related to supporting documentation. Ms. Valdivino, I don't know if you want to speak to this one as well.
Lupe Valdivino, Grants Financial Administrator. So monthly financial reports are got around cash receipts. And this is related to reimbursement, submitting the invoices to KDADs to get reimbursed for expenses. So we've been working with Jackie, and she got everything up to date and current. And now we are doing an internal process for tracking invoices and for payments developed in the department, and is checked against the UG financial statements. So with Jackie being new, was a learning curve for her. So her and I have been working together, training, and also answering any questions that comes across, that we can make sure that this is done timely and we're recording them appropriately.
And then audit finding number 7, related to the annual audit review of Leavenworth County, since our area agency on aging it supports Wyandotte County as well as Leavenworth County as a subrecipient. And one of the requirements as a subrecipient is the annual review of their financial audits. Ms. Valdivino, or somebody want to?
Lupe Valdivino, Grants and Financial Administrator. Yeah, so any of our subrecipients are required to have a risk assessment, and we're to monitor their operations. As Jackie being a new in this position, and I think in the change that they had, it was just overlooked. It was done prior, it just was overlooked. So now we're back on track. We made a site visit on May 27th to Leavenworth Council of Aging, and reviewed their site, reviewed their internal controls. We reviewed their invoices are done as a desk review as they come in. They review their reporting that is submitted, expenses that are submitted, and that's done at like a desk review. And we had a good conversation. There was a couple of issues that Leavenworth needs to address around internal controls. And so we will be submitting the report to them and ask them to do a corrective action related to the internal control piece related to cash.
So this next slide breaks down the recoupment action. And this is the budget amendment that would take budget fund balance and repay the state this $429,000. You can see in the initial request on the total on the right-hand column, and you can see where the additional, the 2 employees were removed from that, and that's how that number came down to the 429 number. Anything anybody wants to add to this particular slide? Okay, so that completes our presentation. Just do want to thank staff who've worked, spent a number of hours on getting all this information together, and also thank our state partners at KDADS, who've been, professional through this. And like I said, we welcome audits. We welcome that kind of oversight, and have taken the actions based on the audit to make those improvements and make ourselves better and make sure that we are being transparent and accountable to you all as the commissioners and to the public. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Alan, on the slide with the chart with the dollars, the total of the 507, feels like a penalty. Is that what that is?
It feels like,
Valdivino, Grants
Yeah.
Financial Administrator. No, it's not a penalty. It's more because we weren't meeting the regulation. So they want to make sure that one grant is not carrying the barrier of another grant. So that's what the time and effort's for.
And I'm just trying to understand how they determined the dollar amounts to attach to that item.
So we have to submit, they request payroll reports from us. So we submit payroll reports, and then the way for payroll, and it's benefits as well. So this does include fringe. And this total is not just direct salary. So when they do that and they do their calculation, they ask for timesheets. So when they ask for timesheets, sometimes it just says 8888. And then their payroll report will have an allocation between 2 different grant funds or 3 different grant funds. So they have to do the due diligence to how did they get to the 8 and how did they determine the allocation. And that's where the time and effort supports the allocation.
And I don't want to minimize it, but possibly then these dollars, we allocated them to a grant where they just didn't belong.
No, it's still a grant. It's still a grant. And within this grant, there's, help me here, title C1, C2. They have a core, and so in this main grant that this was audit, there's 5 sections. And in that 5 sections, we had 2 people who were 100% between these 5 awards within one grant. But then you have other grants that aging has that are allocated, staff are allocated, like the senior care. They have a core funding, so there's CARES. So there's other grants that aging has that you take, and when that's budget time, they do their allocation with budget for staff salary. So for instance, Jackie could be 10% in this one, 20% in senior care, 50% to get to 100% in another grant. So the time and effort is to support those hours she's claiming to all these other state or federal grants. So we didn't have that documentation for our other staff.
So put another way, this state didn't have any issue with, this was the funding reimbursement request that you submitted. This was the work that was done. That was all, correct in terms of the amounts. It was the backup documentation behind that they said, well, you don't have show us your homework in a sense. You didn't have these signed timesheets. And so therefore you were in technical default or violation of the rules of the grant. And therefore we are going to take this money back.
So again, we are going to penalize you and take back money we gave you to run programs for older adults because of paperwork issues.
Yes.
It seems like a steep punishment.
That was yes, we carried that argument to Topeka as well.
Okay. I won't belabor it, but it seems really unfair. Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under recommendations, this is page 15 and 16 of the document that I have. That's what it says at the bottom, page 15 of 16. And then it has recommendations, several bullet points, then management's response, and then finding number 7. And I want to look at that. Finding number 7, it says the annual CPA financial statement audit from Leavenworth Area Agency on Aging. The OAA fund subrecipient has not been completed and reviewed by PSA01 as part of its pass-through entity responsibilities. It may have been addressed, and maybe I just missed it, but if it has not been completed, when will it be completed?
Lupe Valdivino, Grants Financial Administrator. The subrecipient money has been completed. It was done in May, and the report has been issued as of
Okay, so this statement is just incorrect. That's in our documentation.
Are you looking at the actual KDAD's auditing report?
Yeah, right.
I think what she's looking at
Some of
is
the audit that was
one of the audit
one of the audit findings that.
Yeah.
had not been
that was
completed.
done. It was true when the audit was done. It's now been completed and
Okay.
submitted.
Correct.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. That was my main question. I think I understand the rest of it. That was the main thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments, Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. And as always, to our staff, thank you all so much. As somebody that, just in my day job, dealing with grants management, you get to a point where it's like, oh my goodness, we had a process and literally that one bureaucrat can change everything. Because now you're relying on their interpretation of what the policy says. And if it wasn't what their predecessor wanted, then on the books, it looks like you're not doing what needs to be done. How many times has this happened where there has been a request to recoup dollars from KDADs?
Ruth Jones, Aging Director. In my 33 years, this is the first time that we've had a full state audit such as the one we just experienced.
Gotcha. Was there any particular event or something that took place that kind of led to this, or is this just kind of a routine deal? Just give me a little bit of color on this.
Leslie Stroshine, Deputy CFO. I think part of what led to it is there has been findings from the aging department in our single audit for the last couple of years, and they were late. So all that combination of them kind of red flagging some of those things can tend to cause these. And I think it being the first one is the tricky part because like you said, if we've been doing something for 33 years under Ruth and no one told us it was wrong, then we wouldn't know. Even though we haven't had an actual audit like this before, we do send in reports regularly when we ask for our reimbursements and do like the quarterly reports that they were referring to. So we've told them this is to reimburse us for stipends for volunteers, you know, that we've used those terms before, we've gotten paid for them before. So kind of like what you were saying that, you know, it was okay for a while until it wasn't. And now that we know, that's why the audit's really a good thing, like Alan said, because now we know to fix things going forward.
And that's why I'm asking, because I'm reading this stuff and I don't perceive this to be as gross mismanagement or anything. It seems very clear that there's somebody or multiple people that either have been onboarded or have been shifted that now just they have a different view of what the OAA says. And I want to make that very, very clear that for 33 years, this work has been done. I'm sure there are emails and countless communications where the state has greenlit and then reimbursed or given us grants for the same activity, and that you all have been doing your due diligence to the best of your ability and then kind of got the rug pulled out from under you. And so yeah, just given who this is for and who this helps, who this serves, I don't think we're helping the state of Kansas, and we're for sure not helping Wyandotte County through this. I'm disappointed that it got to this level where there probably could have been some better bureaucratic discretion here, because I'm sure the state doesn't necessarily want to just take the money from us. There was something in here also about Leavenworth and us being responsible, and maybe I'm misreading this, but the unified government being responsible for their portion of the audit. Can you all just explain to me what that process is and what their responsibilities are as a subrecipient and what ours is as a primary recipient?
Leslie Stroshine, Deputy CFO. As a subrecipient of funds from us, we are responsible for risk assessment and monitoring, which means making sure that they're doing the things they're supposed to do. We're not responsible for their audit, but we need to make sure that they're getting it done timely. And then we are supposed to read it. And if there are any findings, we need to address those with them. Because if we're going to continue to fund them, same as the way KDAD's looked at us, we want to make sure that they're using their funds appropriately. There's also other pieces like looking at their invoices to make sure that they have the right documentation and spending, that their programs are running. I mean, just kind of overall that they're managing correctly.
Ms. Jones, maybe you would take 30 seconds and just explain the PSA, how the state organizes themselves, why there's multiple counties.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, Ruth Jones, Agent Director. The Wyandotte Leavenworth is PSA 01, is a region of the state. The state designates area agencies on aging. There are 11 designated area agencies on aging. For instance, the Manhattan Area Agency on Aging oversights about 18 counties. And those counties have subrecipients that provide the service for that county. They contract through the Area Agency on Aging, and which is the same with Wyandotte. We were the designated AAA, but the Leavenworth Council on Aging is our subrecipient, and any allocation, we are a pass-through. So the funding from the feds to the state passes through the Wyandotte Leavenworth area to go to Leavenworth Council. Leavenworth Council is an autonomous county, but because we receive the federal funding, then it's our responsibility to make sure that they're following the federal guidelines for the OAA. And so their money is allocated to them through us. And so that leaves us with the responsibility to make sure that they are following the OAA guidelines for the use of those funds.
They are aware of this whole situation, correct? Leavenworth is.
Deal with it.
As
The
far
recruiting
as,
of dollars, they are aware of this.
well, I'm not sure because the recoupment went to the designated AAA.
Gotcha.
And so, but as far as the accountability, that's with the monitoring report that Lupe and Jackie just completed to make sure that they are following those guidelines.
Gotcha. I mean, I do think it would be important to communicate with them the importance of this, just because I would hate for us to be in a situation where they wouldn't know. Yes, counsel, yes.
And this is Z Bishop with the Unified Government Legal Department. Commissioner, my understanding from working on this in depth with staff is that none of the recoupment dollars, none of the dollars that KDADS has demanded be returned to them is tied to any of the issues with Leavenworth County. And so, and I shouldn't say issues with Leavenworth County, essentially we just needed to do some additional monitoring, but KDADS is not asking for money to be returned from Leavenworth County through us as part of this.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for clearing that up, because that's very unfair of a situation to be in, to have to almost negotiate with another autonomous government of something that may not necessarily be in our control. My last question the fund, where are we financially on your department, right? Like, where is this $430,000 coming from?
So there is fund balance in the aging fund. This will deplete, the vast majority of that fund balance. So and I don't know if that answers your question, Commissioner. That's where it would come from.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Clerk, did we receive any comments from the public?
No comments were received.
Is there anyone here in person that would like to address the item? Okay, so the motion will be to adopt the resolution for the budget amendment that's needed in order to correct the imbalance.
David, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Vote is 5-0. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Our second item is an ordinance that would, a charter ordinance exempting the unified government from provisions relating to the levy of the transient guest tax of the minimum rate and propose such guest tax monies, how they may be spent, providing substitute and additional provisions, and I'll stop reading all the legalese since it's extremely confusing. And I will ask legal, Miss Wendy Green, and I believe our administrator, David Johnston, is coming forward to also present on this. So the bottom line here is that we are contemplating an increase to the percentage of the transient guest tax. And David Johnston, County Administrator, I'll turn it over to you to start us off, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During our current budget process, it became apparent from our discussion with the commission that if we can find other revenue sources to pay for needed services, let's look for them. One of the options that is available that we currently are using is a transient guest tax. Currently, we have a transient guest tax, which is at a rate of 8%. And we use that to help fund tourism projects around the county. That is used primarily through our Visit KCK office. And they use that to promote tourism, do special economic development projects that are related for tourism projects. What we are proposing for your consideration tonight is an increase in that tax. What we have here is an increase from the current 8% rate to a 10%. Now, there's been discussion with a few of the commissioners to go up to possibly 12%, but that's your discretion. But right now, it's in this ordinance 10%. What we have put is of that extra 2%, 1.5% of the receipts, this increase would be dedicated for capital improvement projects for our Parks and Recreation Department. And the balance, that extra 0.5%, would be used for placed in the Convention and Tourism Fund managed by Visit KCK, used to promote conventions, the promotion of tourism, and economic development related projects related to tourism within Kansas City, Kansas. Also in section 4 of this ordinance, we are saying that this increase would only be in effect from January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026. So it has a sunset clause embedded in the ordinance. Why is this important? As you know, next year, in the year 2026, Kansas City, Kansas is one of the 3 host sites for the 3 teams of one of the 3 host sites of the 3 teams of the Kansas City World Cup area. So we will host one of the 3 teams that will be located here. There's an estimate of 670,000 visitors that will be attributed to the 3 teams located here, with the fans coming in and out to the 6 games that will be at Arrowhead, and we'll be enjoying the festivities at the Fan Fest at the World War I Memorial. And so we will have people coming in and out of Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. We'll be visiting our area, staying in our hotels. So this transient guest tax will be a revenue generator to help support our services and our capital projects in our area. So this is just one of the tools that is available to us, taking advantage of this special event that is a once in a lifetime to our area. Any questions? And Wendy will talk to you about some of the administrative things that go about making this a possible taking effect that we need to go through. Wendy, you can add the color to that.
Yes, thank you. So actually, the way this is written now, it has it 1.5% to parks, and then the rest to what we've always used the transient guest tax for, which is the promotion of tourism. So if you were wanting to use it for anything else, then we would need to designate that within here. Again, this does have the sunset provision, so it's good for a year, only for calendar year 2026. And then it reverts back to the 8% under the other charter ordinance. This is a charter ordinance. So we have chartered out of the state statute, which caps it at 2%. So we do have to pass this like a charter ordinance. If it makes it out of this standing committee and goes to full commission, then once it's at full commission, if it passes, it has to be published once a week for 2 weeks. It does not go into effect, though, until 60 days after that last date of publication, because that 60-day time frame is what allows the public to file a protest petition, but it has to be at least 10% of the qualified electors from the last general election. And then if no protest petition is filed, then 60 days after the last date of publication, it would go into effect.
So Wendy, you said it would be published twice, is that right?
Correct.
And then within 60 days after the last date would be the time period for the public to have the valid protest petition. And if none, it would take effect. But does the ordinance call out taking effect on January 1?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Beyond, well, depending on when that second publication date would be.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Committee, questions, comments? Oh, okay. We can go to the public first. Are there comments from the public received?
No comments were received.
And anyone online from the public with their hand up?
We have Commissioner Hill's hand raised, actually.
Okay. And before we go there,
No one in public.
no one in the public. Okay, Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In our county administrator's presentation, he mentioned going to 10%, but other commissioners had mentioned going up to 12%. So do we vote for two different things? Or do we vote for one, or how would we handle this?
Commissioner, I think what we would do is within the conversation among the commissioners here tonight, we would identify the rate that we believe would be satisfactory. A motion would be made on a specific rate if it's going to be different than the 10% presented to us in our packet. And then we would go from there. If there were a motion made, say for 11% or 12%, that's the way we would vote. But what's proposed in front of us is the 10%. We can certainly have a discussion among us about a different rate.
Thank
Is
you,
that
Madam
helpful?
Chair.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Commissioner Kane.
Even if, let's say we do the 10%, when it gets to the full commission, there could be an adjustment if the other commissioners wanted one.
I imagine that's true.
Right? So I mean, that gives us some leeway.
Right.
So if some of the other commissioners want it to be higher, then we can make that motion then.
That's right.
It's a super majority either way, right?
That is correct. This is Wendy Green, Deputy Chief Counsel. One other thing I would like to add is that the mayor has requested that this be fast-tracked to Thursday.
Okay.
So since that is the case, it would go on the non-consent agenda anyway.
Okay.
So there could be discussion anyway.
Motion for 10%.
Okay, and I'll hold that motion. Did you have a Commissioner Davis?
Is there a reason why for the fast track?
Because the next item, I believe, in order for, if it's passed, dealing with the city sales tax, in order for it to be on the general election ballot, our election commissioner has indicated he needs that notice by September 1st so he can get his ballots to the printer. And so that would need to be fast tracked. And so the mayor had just requested that both items kind of stay together.
Okay. Commissioner, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm still confused as to why the TGT would need to be
Mhm.
fast tracked.
Mhm.
So, so I was the commissioner that wanted 12%, not 10. So, just to give you all just some background, other cities are having this conversation. Lawrence just went from 6% in their TGT to 8%. Olathe went from 6% to 9% for their TGT. Mr. Lindsay, I'm glad that you're here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the 1% of TGT dollars is roughly $595,000.
Reginald Lindsay, Unified Government Budget Director. Yes, that's pretty close. 600,000 is what we're estimating.
600. So it's about $600,000 every time we go up. I'm for 12% because that extra 4% is roughly what the Parks Department mentioned needing to be prepared for the World Cup. It was roughly about $2.4 million. So that's the reason why. Again, I'm not married to that 12%, but I think we're the tourism capital of the state. We've been growing our tourism development all throughout the state of Kansas. We have growing Airbnbs all throughout our community, and I think we have struggled with taking the benefit from Airbnbs and those guests and really putting it back into our community. And so this could be a huge selling point in a way for us to say we are leveraging the Airbnbs in our community.
Rescind my motion.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, to figure this out. The other thing I want to say is I'm not for sunsetting this for the end of next year, and here's why. We have invested in places like the Rock Island Bridge, tourism infrastructure that we're going to have to figure out where the operating cost comes from to maintain that infrastructure. I do not believe property taxes or the general fund should be that place. I'd prefer that we use tourism dollars to maintain and repair tourism infrastructure to the best of our ability. With that 4% increase, there's a question of what happens to parks. I would prefer we give them, that would be roughly about 2 to even, I would be fine with the 3% to parks. That gets them a little bit closer to what they need, and they would be allowed to continue to maintain tourism infrastructure and, of course, build out their readiness for the World Cup. And so if you want me to make a motion, I can. I don't want to get ahead of you, Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would want to just have a minute more of discussion. I appreciate where you're coming from on both the percentage and the sunset. I would like to talk about if we are going to sunset it, maybe a 5-year sunset rather than just a 1-year, just something I'm throwing out there. I think you might be suggesting no sunset.
Initially, yes, but I can do 5-year.
Okay, so my second question is this, and staff, I need your help. We, I think, have an awareness reluctantly that not all of our VRBOs or Airbnbs are going to necessarily come get our required permit. But those Airbnbs and VRBOs, if they are advertising on those sites, then they are paying the TGT, whether or not they have come to us and secured our required permits. Is that true? It's my understanding
My understanding.
that if they're in one of the online portals like VRBO, they are being required to collect and remit
Right.
transient guest tax.
That's my understanding because they have to comply with all state laws.
Okay. Because we know that that influx is happening now of those Airbnbs.
Yes.
So we will recoup whatever the rate is, we will receive it. That's one thing, just kind of double checking that. And then I appreciate what Commissioner Davis is saying, especially about the longer term financing of these tourism related infrastructure items such as within our parks. That is important. When you think about, for example, Wyandotte County Lake, the things that could be enhanced there with such a dollar. And if we could just back up 2 seconds and make sure the public understands who pays a transient guest tax.
Would agree with Deputy Chief Counsel of the Legal Department. The people that pay the transient guest tax is anybody that stays in a hotel or anybody that rents a room through or a house through VRBO or Airbnb in Kansas City.
Thank you. Those are the only
Correct.
people who pay.
So if you, as a local resident, wants to go spend the night in Margaritaville just to see what it's like, then you also would pay that transient guest tax, but it's only the people that stay in hotels, motels.
Just think that's a really critically
Short-term rentals.
important item to make sure that our residents understand this is not a tax that we are asking to be imposed upon them.
Correct.
Unless, as you say, they choose to stay overnight in one of our amenities. So, okay, thanks very much. Commissioner Hill or Ramirez, anything from you?
I do
Okay.
not have anything.
Thank you.
I'm good. I appreciate the dialogue from Commissioner Davis that kind of helped expand my thinking. But also, I appreciated staff helping because I thought when it's transient tax like that, I thought it would impact other things. I mean, other than just hotel stays, I thought it would impact, I don't know what, but I thought it would impact more. But okay, thank you. I understand.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kane, to your point earlier made, same would be true if we were to put forward from this committee a 12%. Again, that could be a discussion that was held at the commission.
I'm okay with
Okay.
going with 12.
Okay.
I'm a little confused about the sunset. I mean, do we want to have a sunset or not have a sunset?
My preference would be if we have one, that it be longer than a year.
I think we might, once we do it, we want to stay with it, maybe.
Okay, so
A lot
I'm,
of other municipalities charging more than what we're charging.
well, and I don't know that the other municipalities are sunsetted either. Does anyone know here?
I don't think a year's going to work.
Right.
You know, I would think you'd want to do it longer than, no less than 5, but once we get there, we got them.
And this is Wendy Green, Deputy Chief Counsel again. And if at any point you all decide you want to decrease it, all you have to do is just do another amendment.
Okay.
So
Okay, is anyone here ready to make a motion? Commissioner Davis.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve with the following provisions. The increase is from of the transient guest sales tax is from 8% to 12%. There is no sunset date, and 3% goes to parks.
Second.
And Commissioner, excuse me, this is E. Bishop from the Unified Government Legal Department. Are you also moving to fast track that?
As well.
If you all want to, my worry with fast tracking is we have planning and zoning on Thursday, and I do not want to prolong that meeting.
And it upsets other commissioners when stuff's fast-tracked.
Yeah, so no fast track.
I would think we just let it go.
Okay.
Let it ride. You
Okay.
can take it off. Anybody can take it off consent.
Correct. That's right.
So that ability is still there. I just do not want to prolong Thursday night if you all are.
The election commissioner wants it earlier, but he has said that he will.
And this isn't
This isn't, but I mean, if you did
the
one,
other.
so if they're taken together, I think that was what Wendy was saying.
Okay.
This one,
just the mayor's request.
right, that was just.
And I understand. So, but since they are two totally separate things, I almost feel like it helps clarify this has nothing to do with a retailer's sales tax. That is our next item. So that's just my opinion. So I just want to clarify, the motion is to increase our transient guest sales tax from 8 to 12% with no sunset, and 3 of the 12 percentage points are designated to the parks.
Yes.
And also to be clear, the other 1% will go to the tourism fund.
And the 1% to the tourism fund. And there's a motion and a second on that.
Before we do that though, here's my question.
Okay.
The way this is written, the way we do our transient guest tax now, which is again why I would need clarification, and the way this is written, all of the receipts. So all the 8% that we currently collect go to tourism fund of some
Yes.
sort. So the way this would be written now,
3%.
3% would go to parks and the remainder, that remaining 9% would go to tourism.
That's correct. Thank you. I think that does deserve clarity.
So would it be fair to say no less than 3% goes to parks, and we leave it up to staff and tourism and everybody else to handle the rest of the 9%?
Yes, we can absolutely state it that way. In fact, the current charter ordinance that has it in there says that a minimum of
Let's do that.
1.5 million will go to promoting tourism. So we can absolutely say no less than 3%.
Okay.
Chair, then I'll go ahead and amend my motion for the increase by 4% with no less than 3% to parks and no sunset for this item.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Administrator House.
Little clarification on section 3. for
Section
legal,
3.
Just to make sure, it says 1.5% of the receipts derived from the transient guest tax. I just want to make sure what I thought I heard you saying, Commissioner Davis, was that 3%. So if we're charging 12%, 3%, so a quarter of that goes to parks.
And it would be no less than. So if there was a need where more was needed at that time, there would be an ability to do so, but it would say no less than 3%.
Okay, I just want to make sure that your intent was
Yes.
matching.
That's exactly. Okay. Anything further? Roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Vote is 5-0. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, and if you all want to stay seated, the next item is calling for an election relating to city retailer sales tax. I will turn it over to administration and legal for this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, as I said at the last agenda item, during the budget process, we've been charged to look at other revenue streams that may be available for us to fund services as we looked at our how do we fund some of our city services. We're finding it more and more difficult to meet the demand from our public to meet the levels of services that they are expecting from us. We are making it seeing it's difficult for us to meet the demand from our commissioners to meet their expectations of the levels of service that they'd like to see, basically because it's difficult for us to find the revenue that we need to have to meet those demands. And therefore, one of the options, again, and very few options that we have available to us from Kansas statutes is just general sales taxes for cities to adopt. Over time, though, we have adopted sales taxes, the city of Kansas. Back in 1980, we adopted two 1/2 sales tax, 0.5% sales taxes, retail sales taxes. That gave us the current 1% sales tax that we levy to those who purchase eligible items. What we are asking, then we also did in 1983 and I think 84, another 0.5% each to additional half, if I read that correctly.
Yeah, we're up to 1%.
We're 1% now. That's what it was. We adopted 1/2 in each year, 1980 and 1983. That's how it's written. And so we're at 1%. And what we have proposed here with this ordinance is to have you consider adopting another 1% sales tax to help us fund, provide revenue to fund general services. What we have discovered and discussed during this budget year, we have needs. We have discussed how we need to improve our roads. We need to provide continued transit services, parks capital, other types of infrastructure, public safety needs. All those add up. Again, it's difficult for us to find the revenue to meet the service levels that we're seeing that our public would like us to meet those demands. And therefore, again, it's one of the few tools that Kansas state statutes allows us to utilize, and we ask you to consider. And therefore, that's what we have before you. Wendy, again, could you give us the administrative background, what we have to go through to, if this commission advances it and our the commission approves it, what then happens?
Sure. Wendy Green, Deputy Chief Counsel with Legal Department. So right now, under state statutes, way back when we first adopted our city sales tax, we chartered out of the state statute. So at that point, we established that we'd have up to 3.25% limit. And that's when we also established our 0.25% special city sales tax for EMS. After we did that, the state in its infinite wisdom decided it didn't like the fact that cities could charter out of that any longer, so it changed the statute. So, but it did let us continue in effect whatever we had already done.
And Wendy, EMS
Mhm.
was 0.25.
0.25.
Thank you.
Yeah, 0.25. So luckily, we got to keep the 0.25 and it continues until we repeal it. Now, if you do a special city sales tax, you do it in increments of 3/8%. So now we have our 3/8%, which is 0.375 city sales tax specifically for public safety and neighborhood infrastructure. And then we have our 1% general city sales tax. Because when you implement a city sales tax, you have to either say it's for general purposes or it's for a specific purpose. And if you say it's for a specific purpose, that specific purpose and the increment assigned to that sales tax can only last for 10 years, which is why we then had to renew our public safety neighborhood infrastructure sales tax again that started in 2020 and will go until 2030. So right now we're tapped out. You can go up to 2% for general and 1 total percent for special or specific. And we are at 1.625, 1% general and 6.625 special. So if this ordinance is passed, it will let our election commissioner know that you all want to have a question on the ballot whether or not we should increase the city sales tax an additional 1%. That will let Michael Abbott know that he needs to get his ballots out so they can get printed. And then on the general election, this ballot question will go on whether or not we should increase the city sales tax by 1%. If it passes the election, then we will come back to you all with the ordinance calling for the increase in the city sales tax. So there would be one more ordinance after it passes the election that would actually increase the city sales tax.
Okay, if it passed on the ballot, then we'd have one more ordinance.
Right, because this is just the ordinance asking for it to go on.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, and so then, once that happens, we also have to provide notice after the election takes place to the state. And they need at least 90 days. And city sales tax, whenever there's a change, they happen on the quarter. So this would not take place until second quarter of 2026 if it's passed.
Oh, around April 1.
Correct.
Okay, Clerk, I see both Commissioner Hill and Ramirez, and I don't know which one raised their hand first. Do you?
It was Commissioner Hill.
Okay, so we'll go Commissioner Hill and then Commissioner Ramirez. Go ahead, Dr. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if I'm just trying to get a little clarity. She mentioned, I should have said Evelyn Hill, 4th District. There you go. Now, for general purpose or specific purpose, would this sales tax include food? Like, when you get groceries, would this be a part of the food taxes? I know the governor kind of decreased taxes on food lately, not a whole lot, but a little bit. So I'm just trying to get a little clarity.
Wendy Green, Deputy Chief Counsel. Yes, the city did not decrease its portion of the sales tax on food, just the state portion has been eliminated. The state portions of the sales tax. Currently, the state sales tax sits at 6.25%. So, or 6%, I'm sorry. So the state portion, that is no longer collected on food. But the city did not eliminate its sales tax on food, just the state. So yes, this would continue to be collected on food.
Okay. So any purchases at all, this sales tax would be attached to any purchase done here in Wyandotte County.
Not the
Correct.
county as a whole. I'm sorry, Wendy Green, Deputy Chief Counsel. Not the county as a whole, just the city of Kansas City. It's a city retailer's sales tax, so only within the city limits of Kansas City, Kansas. But that's correct. Any purchase you make that is charged a sales tax, you would pay this increased amount on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, staff, for the work and bringing this forward. Um, I guess I'll be the first person and be the Debbie Downer here. Again, we've come to the place where this has been brought up, but no education has been done before it being brought forward. We would have, what, 1-2 months before the election to get our community on board. That's not enough time. We already hear and get emails and Facebook messages and Facebook comments of everything that is happening with property taxes. And now there's going to be the word sales tax on the ballot. If we want to do this, we need to do it right. And as I mentioned back from the very beginning when this was proposed, we need to do a full-throated education with our community. Monthly meetings, talking about the things that this money could go towards. 2 months is not going to cut it. 1 or 2 months is not. Again, going back to, if we want to do it right, then let's put in the work to make it right. I support this. I support a sales tax. If we want to have it, it'll help. We as commissioners, Lord knows, we know we need the funds to provide for our city and our county, but more specifically, since it's a city sales tax, for our city. But I think Commissioner Hill hit on a point of, this is going to be on an everyday purchase that our citizens, yes, people who live outside of our city, who buy things in here, they will pay it. But more importantly, our citizens will be paying for it as well. And we know right now with the economy, we don't know where it's going. Things are getting higher because of all of what is happening federally and the federal economic policy and monetary policy as well that is being put in place. Timing is not right. It's not right. We don't have enough education to our community. And I would guarantee you, if we put this on the ballot, it's going to fail. And in my opinion, we only have one try. We can keep trying and trying and trying. But if we learned anything from USD 500 bond issuance, Piper bond issuance, we need to have proper education and community help with this. And just 2 months is not it. So when the time is right, Madam Chair, I do have a motion, but I'll wait for that motion until others have had comments. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Kane?
I agree with Christian. Especially the Piper School bond, there wasn't enough time. It was rushed. This is so big, you can't rush something this big. I know everybody would like to have something like this, but I think it would fail right out of the gate because we have to educate people as best we can. There are some folks that buy their vehicles out of Wyandotte County because of the sales tax that's already on them. And if we add another burden, we're not going to sell near as many cars or vehicles or anything else. And it's a timing thing. You can't get this done in 2 months. No way in hell, it's impossible. And I think it's the timing's terrible. You're going to have a new mayor, multiple new commissioners. They may want the money to go here. They may want the money to go there. And I don't want to make a future decision for the new elected body. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really, really appreciate the insight of colleagues. And while I probably has been the most the mascot for this, I would say I can concede that now would not be the right time, and that we are basically at Labor Day, pretty much 2 months before the election. It, quite frankly, probably wouldn't be as fair to staff to say, hurry up. So then the question becomes, if not now, then when? Because I do think at this current rate right now, people are complaining about the cost of everything. Property taxes are too high and then infrastructure. Like voting this down or us not doing anything doesn't actually solve what people are rightfully complaining about and rightfully concerned about. And so I do think this year we should make a decision of some sort of what to do so that for the future commission, they would be set up for success, or at the very least have an opportunity to start championing some of these things. Just because it's on the ballot doesn't mean that it's predetermined what is done after it is passed. And so there would still be that ability there to get that extra revenue. And we could use these funds to help pay for infrastructure costs. We can use these funds to increase rebates, right, to our seniors and those that are disabled. We can use it to start a new fund for property taxes and have a property tax rebate or a property tax relief fund for our community. So there's a lot of creativity that can come with something like this. I do want to ask a question. The state has kind of moved things around in our councils. If you all can help me on when we could put something on the ballot. If I'm not mistaken, it's March, August, and November. Do I have that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we would have about 3 options next year. I would not want to wait another year to vote on this. So all that to say, maybe, Madam Chair, we still have these conversations and think through what a spring election would look like now and have those conversations. Not today, not tonight, but in future AHS meetings. That way we can land somewhere and maybe set up for a spring election. That's just one alternative idea. Thank you.
I think you bring up an interesting point. We also want to be strategic on which ballot we choose. One of the things we don't want to do is we want to minimize our cost. And so if we do it where we're the only one, we have to pay the full freight, and those aren't cheap. And so we always would want to look at if we do this on the ballot, which one is it where we wouldn't have to pay as a government. So that's the only thing I would throw caution to the wind on that.
Commissioner Kane?
And that's perfect, because we got big elections coming in November, the governor's race, the state house races, and I think that is the time to do it. And that'll give staff time to get out there and do whatever they're going to do. And for the people to get a really good look at it, gives everyone time to prepare, and you'll get a hell of a lot more people turning out for the vote.
Thank you. A couple of comments. Reggie, Mr. Lindsay, if at 1% on the city side, what's the potential revenue generation of 1%?
Reginald Lindsay, Unified Government Budget Director. So if the tax would have been in place in 2024, where we have the most recent actuals, we would have collected $35.2 million. Based on growth trends, we estimate in 2025 that we could collect $36.7 million, and in 2026, $37.3 million.
Thank you. So a couple of comments. I support the notion of an additional retail sales tax on the city side, because we know, and I don't know if we have that data tonight, but we know that a good many people who pay it are folks who don't live in the community. They might work in the community or visit the community. And so we like and appreciate when we spread out a tax burden like that to a much larger pool of individuals. So to me, that's the plus side of it. Obviously, these revenue projections are certainly positive to hear. if you think about 1% on the city side, as far as the total tax package paid by a person in Kansas City, Kansas, they're paying 6.5 to Kansas, 1 to Wyandotte County, and 1.625 to the city of KCK today, for a total rate of 9.125. So this would be 10.125, and it's frankly not out of line with other municipalities nearby. I do appreciate Commissioner Kane's comment about a larger purchase. I don't think much about the sales tax rate at the grocery store or J.C. Penney, but when I'm looking at a car, that's a different story. So I do think that matters. But the other thing I think will be, I also really completely agree with this notion that we've got to explain to our community why we would ask for such a thing and what's in it for them, basically, which one thing seriously could be, not only does it plug some serious gaps, but there's enough that it could provide actual dollar for dollar property tax relief. So those are conversations for another day, but at a third, or it could completely eliminate the pilot. There's a lot of options that 35 million could do for our community. And again, in a way that is spreading that cost beyond just those who live here. But everything that I've just said takes a solid plan, a solid communication plan, and an army of people to spread out into the community to share that message. So I support it. I do. But I just think we need a longer runway for it. Administrator.
Madam Chair, just listening to all your discussion, I do agree with you about the need for time and further discussion, because we also were talking as staff and a few of your fellow commissioners about coming to you later on this year about a dedicated county tax, sales tax, to fund other needed. And as if you listen closely to our budget discussion and the need for additional county revenue and how it's needed for county services, well, how we balance the city sales tax and a county dedicated sales tax and state statute limits how we can limit how we direct county sales tax. And we would need help from our state legislature there. It has to be part of our legislative agenda. So it would require discussion from this standing committee to forge that proposal to add to our legislative agenda that we would carry forth to our state legislative delegation. And then that balance between a state sale, because we're talking about the same taxpayer primarily for Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County, and then how we would use those pots of money to provide the services to our taxpayers. So it's as you said, interesting discussions for the future. So I think to have a balanced tax proposal requires further discussion, but that comes with time.
I have one question that I have failed to ask so far, and remind me again, we have an EMS dedicated sales tax and we have the public safety and infrastructure. And when we are shopping in a or paying this sales tax in a star bond district, are those two dedicated sales taxes coming to the city or being counted in the star bond revenue that's paying off a bond?
Wendy, Deputy Chief Counsel, those are coming to the city. The 2% dedicated sales tax for those star bond districts, those are in addition to all the other percentages. So
Okay,
it's
so
a
let me-
higher tax out.
Let me just, yes, I
Mhm.
do understand that. Let me repeat that. The EMS tax and the public safety and infrastructure sales tax, if I am paying a sales tax for any reason in a star bond district, those two special sales taxes are still coming to the city of Kansas City, Kansas for those two very specific things.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. And this one would be the same.
Correct. Yes.
It would not pay down a star bond.
Correct. It would be coming to the city
It's
for
a-
general purposes.
And that is the kind of critical information that must be shared far and wide in order for support to be generated for something like this. So if I live outside of KCK or Wyandotte County for that matter, and I'm at Margaritaville or Homefield or Great Wolf Lodge or whatever Cabela's is now, I'm paying whatever the sales tax rate is at that location, and some of it's paying off a star bond, but these are coming here. Okay, that's really important information to have. Now, committee, we need to, Commissioner Ramirez, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To go quickly reiterate the comments of the timeline. I believe either the primary or general of the gubernatorial race is going to be the best option for us. It's going to give us a better snapshot of what our community is really feeling when it comes to a sales tax. It is a big election to have a new governor, so a lot more people are going to go out into the polls and vote. So I do think that the timeline is a lot better and gives more timeline for staff, as Administrator Johnston mentioned, for them to be able to compile these two tax proposals and maybe come together, find how they can marry each other in some way, shape, or form. So with that, don't know how the committee wants to take this or how we want to go away, but I do think for the time being, this ordinance should be tabled so that we can continue as a committee to have more. I don't want to vote it down. It still needs to stay alive, but table it for now so that we as a committee can continue to have these conversations and staff can continue to do the work. I don't know if that is amenable to committee members.
Legal's saying we don't need a motion one way or the other.
Oh, okay.
This
Then
is
I'll-
Sue Bishop with the Unified Government Legal Department. Commissioner, if the committee were to table this item, it would have to come back in 30 days. I don't think that that's what the intention is based on the conversation. And so no motion is necessary if the committee does not wish to move this item forward.
Okay, and thank you very much, but let me clarify that with no action at all, it could come back whenever we want it to. Is that true?
That is correct,
Okay.
Commissioner.
So no motion
Okay.
keeps the door open.
And it could come back as an information-only discussion item as well, if the committee wanted to continue this discussion and continue some fact-finding.
What happens with no motion at this committee level? What happens? I'm asking about the full commission level. For example, if our full commission wanted this discussion, I suppose full commission could have this discussion. Mayor put it on an agenda. It remains an information only item, or we could hold a special session. Okay, we still have a lot of options. Yes, sir.
And I'll add, I think, I mean, this item is dead. And the reason why it's dead is because there's a deadline that we have to get to the election commissioner for it to get on the ballot. So unless something happened between now and September 1st, this item would die. But I do think that maybe continued discussion, Chair, at your discretion for information only in future AHS meetings, where we're not necessarily making a final decision, but we're just doing some more research and we're being tactful on what 2026 looks like. Nothing against the incoming commissioners, but there's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of institutional knowledge that we have in this committee right now that I think we should leverage so that we can set up the future commission for them to be successful. I don't think there's anything against us deciding on August or November here in 2025. And so again, that can be future discussions, but just another way to think about this going forward, because I know our staff has worked very, very hard to get us here. And I do think we can make a decision for 2026 with the institutional knowledge that we have. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I do want to thank staff, because I do think that for a very brief period, there was kind of a hurry up. And then I think we all decided maybe take a breath instead of hurry up. And that to me is the better road to go on.
I think there's one thing that we can all agree, the needs of this community do not go away.
Correct.
So we continue that discussion and how do we meet it? There's always the need to look for funds. So
That's correct. And I appreciate, again, I sincerely appreciate it. So I never opened the public conversation side of this, so I will do that now. Is there anyone online that's wanting to comment on this item, clerk?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, and any comments received from the public?
No comments were received.
Is there anyone here in person that would like to comment on the item? No one is here, and there is no action. And I believe that is our last agenda item.
David, second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Vote is 5-0. Motion carries.
Thank you.